This space is extremely cathartic, but at least 3 times this past week, I've had the urge to delete the whole channel. And the thoughts that I have are so jumbled that I actually had to sit down and think about what is it that I'm afraid of? Who do I not want to offend? Who do I not want to hear me tell my stories, my truth? And this is I instantly started thinking about my best friend from high school. When I was in high school, my best friend was a dark-skinned girl with Asian eyes, like a keen nose, keen lips, and 4A shoulder length hair. She was slim, thick, flat stomach, just booty and beauty for days. And her mom used to describe her as being built to last. So naturally, we had no problems in our friendship. Not one moment did I ever feel this girl would ever do anything but something to help amplify me. In public and in private, trusted her implicitly, and she never breached that trust. And one day, during high school, I didn't date. I didn't talk to boys. I was just very much an arts and crafts girly, very sheltered and just unaware of anything because I just hadn't had any real exposure, wasn't going to parties yet, just mostly went to school and hung out with my family. And I think because it was generally known, Golden isn't allowed to date. Golden doesn't talk to boys. Most, not all, but most of my male classmates didn't even try me. Maybe three guys in all 4 years. And I think 2 of those guys were older than me. But long story short, my beautiful best friend, I think she knew I didn't know anything really. And just one day out of nowhere, she looked over at me and was like, you could easily walk into a room and be the prettiest girl there. No one had ever really said anything like that to me. Not my mom or my sisters. And in fact, the only women in my life who affirmed me physically were my paternal aunts, who were all dark-skinned, unambiguous, attractive women with 4C hair that they rarely wore out. They were Beyonce and Diana Ross before wigs. Diana Ross before wigs were cool. So my beautiful dark-skinned best friend and my daddy's beautiful dark-skinned sisters were the only women in my life who had ever really communicated that I was pretty. My mom's focus was on academics, and she conveyed that to my dad early on in my life. And so she basically instructed him not to talk about looks, not to put any emphasis on being pretty or anything like that. So neither my parents or my siblings ever really focused on anything outside of being neat, clean, presentable, modest, kind, and book smart. So my aunts, who I saw infrequently, and my best friend, who affirmed me all the time, were the only ones who ever gave me an indication of how I might be perceived by others. My aunts, I trusted my aunts, but I really just thought they were saying that I was pretty because they were my aunts. But my best friend, the randomness and sincerity of the moment was super special. And it was the first time I actually believed it. And it wasn't I had poor self-esteem. I was really happy, crafty, artsy fartsy kid. And because I didn't date, my choices and movements were automatically decentering males. Didn't know what I was doing or what, I was being encouraged to do by my relatives. But because guys weren't allowed, I just really didn't think about them. It was just I had accepted that I wasn't allowed to really date. And I wasn't a sneaky kid, so I didn't. And like, I say all of this to say the first women who ever affirmed me were unambiguous, dark skinned Black women. And shout out to Chrissy for the term monology, unambiguous. Dark skinned Black women were also the first ones to bully me and the ones who I experienced issues with the most as an adult. And like, a part of me feels guilt and like sadness around acknowledging that, like immense guilt and sadness and shame around telling the truth about it, because I wish it wasn't so. I wish that all of the positive experiences I've had with dark skinned, unambiguous Black women could erase the negative experiences. But the negative experiences were so impactful, is like an understatement, to be honest. But they were just, I could like really create a series on them, because some of them were just so random. Like, I remember there was this one girl, and she like went and like lied on me and reported me to like some authority figures in our lives, and said that I was like covering up this, essentially like this activity that I was aware of that someone else was doing. Now, how she decided to like go report me and tell that I knew of what was happening according to her, versus like actually trying to get help for like the actual people involved, I don't know. But like, and she was, her specifically, her name is so unique that I could never use like her name, and I wouldn't anyways. But like, I think about her when she matured some and I guess found religion. She apologized for her behavior, and it was, it was nice, but you did what you did. You did, and you had multiple chances like to act better, and she fit the mold of the stereotypical mean girl, feature wise. But that doesn't change the fact that I've had some beautiful experiences, and I have, like, just these core memories of my beautiful dark skinned best friend and my daddy's beautiful dark skinned sisters, and just them being the only women in my life who ever really communicated that I was, like, attractive. Like, I feel like honoring, like, I don't want to create content that dishonors that, but then also, like, the negative experiences make me move differently in the world. And like, I definitely am a confident woman, and I like really do try to give everyone a clean slate in hopes that, there will be no jealousy this time. And I do actually have some beautiful friends who genuinely wish me well, but my circle is small, and like the negative experience have created like a version of me that moves very cautiously with new women I don't know. And because of how my life is set up, I'm constantly coming into contact with new people, new women who I have to be in community with, because I'm just very involved in my religion. And I can honestly say that the positive experiences outweigh the bad ones in number, but the bad experiences were always just extreme and like uncalled for. And like the one that I gave, it was tiny the way that I explained it, but if I really went into detail with some of these weird experiences, I know exactly why I'm making this type of content. But I don't know. I chose these images of Pam and Gina because I'm like a 90s kid, 90s, early 2000s kid. And I remember their friendship dynamic and just thinking both of them were beautiful. And I just wish that, like, I just wish the negative experiences didn't outweigh the positive ones. And as I resist the urge to delete my channel, I'm just, processing and like understanding why this is a faceless channel and like why I feel guilt about telling these stories, and why I always feel like the need to like balance it with the positive. I don't know. Thanks for listening. Tell me your stories below, please, and thank you in advance.